So I'm going to be starting a new series where I try to get better at 3x3 as much as I can, especially because I want to become sub 10 by the end of the year. And it's currently January. I feel like to start off the series, I think it's time to figure out what cube I should use, because I have so many new cubes and so many good cubes that I want to figure out which one will be the best that I can end up using. Let's actually figure out what cube I will stick to, because I clearly haven't been doing that since last year. So let's figure out which ones.
Don't call me, come and call me, rolly, flex, learn super flex.
So I picked out 6 cubes I'm going to be testing out. I'm going to do an average of 25 on all of them and see which one I'm going to actually end up picking. So I'm going to start all new sessions for all of these cubes. I normally do averages of 100, but I think that's going to take too long. So we have the Worm V9, which was my last main, even though I've been switching between cubes recently. The YS3M, which I've actually been starting to use a lot more because I'm starting to like the feel of it again, and it got way faster even though I haven't done anything to the cube except for like removing the logo in a while. And the Super WeiLong, which I used in my most recent competition. The X-Man Tornado V3 Pioneer Edition, which I tried to use for one competition but I didn't really do well with it. The CHM Pro Bore UV Coated Edition. And the RS3M V5, which is one of MoYu's best releases of 2023 aside from the Worm V9. Yeah, we have all these cubes. I don't think there's anything else I would want to pick out, but it's time to do an average of 25 on all of them.
Reel it in, I got the bag, tell a friend, she got some, bring it in, from the news, CNN, yeah.
So the first cube I decided to test was the Worm V9, and I got my best average of 25 on it with a 13.76 average. I felt like everything with this cube just felt really good when I was testing it for that average of 25, and I was performing really well and actually getting pretty smooth stalls on it. There were some +2s because for some reason I would just end up doing a U2 instead of a U when I have to do an AUF sometimes, but because of how stable it is with the corner to core magnets, things like that, and the fact that I also replaced the maglev with springs on this cube, it felt really good. I also do want to reset this up again because although I fixed the spring noise very recently before my last competition, I kind of want to lube the springs so I can actually make sure that I don't get spring noise. The next cube that I decided to test out is the Super WeiLong, and despite it being the cube where I got my 10.96 PR single at the last competition I went to, I feel like during this average of 25, it didn't really do that well. Certainly not as bad as one of the cubes that you'll see later, but during that average, despite it having like pretty much the same features as the Worm V9 with the exception of the fact that this cube has adjustable magnets in comparison to the Worm V9, which doesn't. In reality, it doesn't really do much, and I haven't really bothered to adjust the magnets whatsoever on this cube, and I've been leaving it on the default setting for the longest time. I don't think it's really more worthy over the Worm V9. It felt really unstable in comparison to the V9.
Dancer, throwing your hands in the air that you answer when I ask you if you want you're a panther.
The next cube that I tested after that was the YS3M, and I actually got a 9-second solve for the first solve of this average. However, the rest of the solves weren't as great because I felt like even though this cube got a lot faster, it felt like I couldn't really control it as much as I could with the Worm V9. I remember it being really controllable before I got the Worm V9, and then I remember it being way too unusably slow. But I think the more it got faster, or maybe it's just the effect of demagleving my Worm V9 and trying to make that a lot more controllable, maybe a bit of compound 10 could fix it. I haven't really done much to this cube aside from the initial setup that I did when I originally got it, plus getting rid of the original WeiLong logo and swapping it out with the cube head logo that I have on here. I ended up getting a 14.74 average of 25 on this cube, and not the worst average I have here. The next cube that I have here is the RS3M V5, and I think it performed pretty well, although I feel like it's kind of a bit indecisive of how it wants to perform sometimes, because I think first average I did on this, it was really bad, although it might have been because I did just like 75 solves before that. I think my hands were like a bit tired, so I took a break after that, and after realizing that my camera didn't record for the first solve, even though I like pressed the record button, and then I didn't realize that the battery wasn't charged. Did it again, and I actually got the second best average with this cube. A 13.95 average before the Worm V9. If I can probably set it up a little bit better, because I kind of actually do want to redo the setups on both of these cubes, maybe I'll have a better time with this. The next cube I have here is the Tornado V3 Pioneer. I did set this up to be a little bit more controllable 2 months ago, but I think because I've been using it a lot recently, it's gotten a lot faster to where, despite it being controllable when I set it up initially, it was really fast and like a bit uncontrollable when I was doing this average. Could also set it up again to be more controllable, but I feel like that's kind of the one thing about the Pioneer that is one of the reasons why people buy the flagship version more than the Pioneer. I don't think this will be a contender for my main, because I haven't really used a Tornado V3 ever since the YS3M came out. I ended up getting a 14.55 average on this cube. And the last cube that I tested is the CHM Pro Bore UV Coated Edition, and I really wanted this cube to perform really well, but despite it having literally a bunch of magnets, like having the same amount of magnets as the Worm V9, it doesn't feel like it. When I was testing it, it was really unstable. It would deform a lot, and it ended up leaving me with my worst ever average of all of these cubes being 15.28. Like, I feel like the ball core and the edge repelling magnets, like, despite it existing on this cube, it did absolutely nothing. I think even the magnets itself didn't feel like it was actually doing anything to keep the cube really stable. It just felt like a non-magnetic cube.
I like no blueberries in my ice cream cake.
I think for this series, I'm going to be using the Worm V9 for my main cube and the RS3M V5 for my backup main, because these two cubes got basically both of the best average of 25 that I got during this testing period, and the Worm V9 had the best one and the RS3M V5 had the second best one. So I feel like I'm going to be able to count on these to give me good results, and especially the Worm V9. I feel like despite it feeling really slow before that competition, after using it a lot more now, I feel like it got a lot better and I was able to turn a lot faster with this cube. And I feel like the RS3M V5 is the cube that's also up there with the Worm V9, despite it not feeling as stable as the V9. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Don't call me, come and call me. Rolly, flex, learn super flex. I done a class, yeah.